Hello readers by eyes and by ears, this is Mari Chen and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are continuing with another short, I repeat short, reading of The Disabled Tyrant's Beloved Pet Fish, Volume 2, also known as 残疾暴君的掌心鱼宠 by Xue Shan Fei Hu. So for sure, I'm reading chapters 68 and 69. If I am able to read 70, I will read that too, and if I'm really feeling the gusto, then I will just keep reading. But that probably won't happen. Anyway, let's go ahead and get to it. Chapter 68. Fishy reads a novel. Prince Sting really didn't know what to do with this fish. He smiled and reached over to pet Li Yu on the head. Why did this mean the same thing as when he patted the fish's head? Li Yu wondered. Oh, whatever. Li Yu pulled Prince Sting down to sit by him. Prince Sting was a little cautious because he didn't know what Xiao Yu wanted, but he still sat down. Before he sat down all the way, the fish quickly shut the curtains with a whoosh. A faint glow from the oil lamp outside filtered through the curtains. The fabric was embroidered with cotton roses, and their shadows played over the youth's snowy white undershirt. His star-like eyes shone with the jumping flame. Prince Sting's breath hitched. His desire for Xiao Yu surged unstoppably within his heart, but remembering their agreement, he did his best to suppress it. Your Highness, why are you sitting so far away? Come closer. Li Yu patted the jade pillow next to him. Prince Sting didn't dare get too close. He only moved over a little bit. Li Yu urged him a few times, then giggled. I'm not a fierce beast, Your Highness. Are you afraid of me? Prince Sting thought silently. You aren't a fierce beast, but you are a seductive little Yao, which is much more dangerous. But he couldn't just stay there when the seductive little Yao had asked so many times. After hesitating for a while, he sat down next to Xiao Yu. There was only a finger's width between them. Li Yu was just waiting for him to get close enough, and he immediately wrapped his arms around Prince Sting and pulled him in. Now there was no more space between them. Your Highness, Your Highness, look! Li Yu pulled out a few books from behind him as if he were performing a magic trick. By the light from outside the bed, Prince Sting saw it was The Legend of the White Snake, which he hadn't read in a long time. Li Yu shoved the book into his hand and stuffed himself back into his arms. He couldn't be more pleased on the inside, but on the outside, he said very serious. Since Your Highness wouldn't tell me what absorbing essence meant, I thought I would be able to find the answer in one of your many books, so I looked through them. Prince Sting didn't know what to do with the soft, warm body that was suddenly pressed against him. He didn't even know where to put his limbs. He felt like he'd fallen into the carp spirit's gentle trap as soon as he'd entered the canopy of the bed, but he was happy to fall. As he mentally recited the pure heart mantra, he quietly watched the carp spirit in his arms put on a performance. And then guess what? I found it. It's in these books. Look, Your Highness, look at what the white snake spirit said to Scholar Xu. Li Yu lay back into Prince Sting's chest, flipping to a certain page in the book. He pointed to a line and read it out loud. Husband, we Yao need to absorb essence. Prince Sting was shocked. Something was going to happen if they continued like this. He quickly covered the fearless carp spirit's mouth. Li Yu shook like he'd pulled a muscle, then burst into laughter. Prince Sting didn't want him to say it, but he was going to anyway. He freed his mouth and stubbornly flipped to another page. Here it is again. Husband, we Yao must absorb essence every day. Li Yu blinked and looked up at Prince Sting. Your Highness, he asked as if he didn't know. Is this what you were talking about? Li Yu calling him husband was really testing Prince Sting. He could barely keep himself under control. After some internal struggle, he nodded his head lightly. Li Yu thought he finally had Prince Sting hooked and said smugly, Your Highness, it also explains how exactly they went about absorbing in the novel. If you're still not sure, let's read it together. If they read it together, perhaps something could happen. At least, that was Li Yu's plan. But, keeping their agreement in mind, Prince Sting adamantly shook his head, wanting to put the book away. This wasn't going quite as Li Yu had thought it would. While Prince Sting was gone, Li Yu had already skimmed through the whole book. Although there were a lot of ancient words he couldn't read, he could still make out most of it. His comprehension skills were shockingly adept. Prince Sting took good care of him, and he loved and cared for Prince Sting. He'd always had the intention of becoming more intimate with Prince Sting, but the book had really stoked the flames in his heart. He'd been lying down for a while, but he couldn't calm down, so he decided to wait for Prince Sting on the bed. No matter what, he had to get Prince Sting to agree. But now, at such a crucial moment, why wasn't Prince Sting cooperating? And the reason Prince Sting wasn't cooperating seemed to be the agreement he himself had laid down. Li Yu suddenly felt like he'd shot himself in the foot. No, Li Yu suddenly thought. Ugh, what I want right now doesn't exactly contradict the agreement. When he'd first laid down the rules, it wasn't because he didn't ever want to do those things. It was mostly because he was afraid he'd lose track of time and turn into a fish in the middle of it. There was no way he could recover from that. But he'd forgotten there were things they could do where he didn't need to be afraid of turning into a fish. Why did they have to restrain themselves? The novel was useless, unable to seduce his boyfriend for him. He had to do it himself. Li Yu was busy for a while, even kicking the books off the bed. He looked up with a mysterious smile. Your Highness, I have a friend who told me boyfriends can do other things together besides merely spending the night. Prince Sting was just about to get jealous over this friend when a sweet pair of lips pressed against his. Xiao Yu put Prince Sting's hand on the string of pearls at his waist, smiling slyly. The leaf green blanket with the gold edge was scrunched up into a ball, then spread back out. Occasionally, sweet laughter would come from underneath it. Li Yu felt like he could drown in this tenderness. Blushing, he asked in a small voice, Your Highness, let's do it together, okay? Prince Sting didn't really understand, but Xiao Yu made him understand with his body. There were many ways for a carp spirit to absorb essence. Prince Sting was just a bit inexperienced. Of course Prince Sting listened to Xiao Yu. Listening to Xiao Yu meant he got to be absorbed, as well as dine on the fish. He'd never experienced such joy. Your Highness, how long do you normally last? Li Yu peeked out from the warm blanket with his hair in a mess. His exposed neck was covered in indecent red marks. Prince Sting couldn't look away. Li Yu rubbed his toe against Prince Sting's leg. The sixth prince had come at the wrong time. He didn't have much time left. After he got his answer, he could prepare for the next step. Prince Sting, whose hair was just as messy, felt like he'd only just gotten a taste. No man would be modest at a time like this. He silently held up one finger. 10 minutes? That fast? Furious, Prince Sting pinched his butt. With just a little pressure, Li Yu was already yelping. Realizing his mistake, Li Yu smiled apologetically. Sorry, I got it wrong. Not that fast. It's... If it wasn't 10 minutes, then an hour? Either way, there wasn't enough time. Li Yu stood up and kissed him on the corner of his lips apologetically. Sorry, Your Highness. I have to leave again. Prince Sting understood. He ruffled his hair. Oh, right, Li Yu laughed. You shouldn't take so many cold baths in the future. Although they couldn't take it all the way to the end, like other couples, they could try all the steps that came first. After Li Gongzi left, Prince Sting always took a cold bath. Though he could hide it from Li Gongzi, Xiao Yu saw everything. Prince Sting froze, then nodded, wanting to kiss Li Yu again. But his gentle little fish suddenly pushed him away and yelled, Ah! There's no time! Xiao Yu, who'd finished absorbing essence, hastily pulled on some clothes, then immediately ran off. As Prince Sting lay there, it felt like he could still feel that captivating tenderness. The little carp in the fish tank was skulking around, behaving as if he'd done something wrong. He waited for a while to confirm that the person on the bed was asleep, and then he finally pulled out the cute little golden fish. Now he had a new gift. Prince Sting was always giving him things. Li Yu kissed it happily, then entered the system, feeling uplifted. As expected, while he and Prince Sting were tussling about in the blankets, the quest had updated. But at the time, Li Yu's hands and mouth had been very busy, so he had no time to check. This really meant his relationship with Prince Ting was progressing quite well, so much so that he didn't even really care about the quests. Unexpectedly, the quest that he thought had been stuck in a logic loop was cleared just like that. Getting married was one way to progress in a relationship, so was being intimate. As he and Prince Ting grew closer and closer, perhaps he'd be able to breeze through the next quest too. Li Yu thought his current mindset was a good one. He had to keep it up. He should strategically disregard the system, but in terms of actual goals, he had to figure out how to fully become a human. The reward for the inseparable quest was another one of Prince Ting's secrets. Li Yu thought that after the main quest line of priceless pet fish, the system had gotten a lot stingier. Each quest only rewarded him with a single secret, but perhaps priceless pet fish was just the tutorial level. It needed the fish to level up quickly. Now that he had a good foundation of skills, it was time to get more in-depth by learning secrets. Like last time, there were 4 choices. The 3 he hadn't chosen from the indulging quest were still there, but the one Li Yu had already seen had been replaced by another one, showing the vague shine of a sword. Li Yu looked at it. There was no chance the system would show him all of the tyrant behavior Prince Ting had tried to keep hidden from him, right? He was afraid of violent, bloody scenes, so he rejected the sword instinctively. As for the rest, Li Yu chose the dark palace that he didn't recognize. He had already mentally prepared himself and immediately entered the memory. This was the corner of some unknown palace, in a dark room. There was a sewing box on the table, and in the box was a half-sewn toy tiger. A slightly chubby woman in her 30s sat next to the table. This woman had a melancholy expression, occasionally picking up the tiger to add a few stitches. She looked like she was waiting for someone. Before long, a servant came in. Li Yu was confused. He had no memory of this person. If this was someone serving Prince Ting, he would be very familiar with them by now. The servant handed a small paper package to the woman. She was terrified and distressed, kneeling down on the ground to beg for mercy, but the servant ignored her. Eventually, perhaps because he ran out of patience, he kicked the woman. With no other choice, the woman poured out the powder with shaking hands. Li Yu thought perhaps she was being forced to drug Prince Ting, but in the next moment, the woman swallowed the powder, tears streaming down her face. That was the end of the secret, only leaving him with more new questions than answers. He knew this secret was related to Prince Ting's past, but in the memory of the prince almost drowning, he'd been able to see Prince Ting and even himself. He could even hear. But this memory had no sound, and no Prince Ting. If Prince Ting wasn't there, how could it be Prince Ting's secret? What relation did the woman and servant have to Prince Ting? And that powder? Most of the powders in the palace were either aphrodisiacs or poisons. Why did the woman take it herself? It couldn't be that she was another Chu Yanyu plotting to drug Prince Ting and thus being forced to take it herself. The woman seemed a little on the older side, so it didn't seem likely. Besides, there weren't many people in the world like Chu Yanyu. Li Yu didn't understand, but he had experience now. If he didn't understand something about the system, he could usually just set it aside for the time being. Now that the inseparable quest was complete, Li Yu was both nervous and excited about the next quest. What kind of dumbass task would require them to be even closer than they were now? Li Yu was feeling suspicious. He took a deep breath and clicked open the main quest. The next step was stay with the tyrant through thick and thin. Chapter 69. Fish Buying Antiques. Li Yu thought the next quest would be something more shameless, something that would push him and Prince Ting closer, but in the end, it turned out to be stay with the tyrant through thick and thin. Did this mean they were going to face some sort of hardship together? Even if they were, it would be fine. Every moment with Prince Ting was a happy one. Now that they were lovers, he couldn't expect everything to go smoothly all the time. No matter what, he'd continue onward with Prince Ting, side by side. Li Yu was fully confident he could complete this step. The reward for thick and thin was another secret. It seemed like sooner or later he'd get to peek at all of Prince Ting's secrets. Li Yu smiled and exited the system, then glanced at the bed, worried. Prince Ting was probably resting and not paying attention to the fish tank, so he swam to the silver rock bed and covered himself with the leaf blanket. Thinking back to what had happened under the real blanket with Prince Ting, the usually shameless fish was suddenly a little shy. His heart beat quickly in his chest, and he waved his tail in agitation, as though it would help chase away the embarrassment. Never mind, they'd already done it, and they'd be going further in the future. What did he have to be embarrassed about? Liu kept comforting himself, but it still took many more flaps of his tail before he managed to slowly fall asleep. Meanwhile, the person on the bed waited until the fish was completely silent before opening his eyes to watch over the fish with a gentle gaze. Ye Qinghuan's wedding to the Princess of Jinjue drew closer. The little princess had invited Liu to the wedding, and Liu had agreed. By now, it was soon enough that Liu thought it was about time to prepare a wedding gift. He couldn't just show up empty-handed. But during the day, he had to go to work with Prince Ting as a fish, and at night, he had to spend time with Prince Ting as a human. He couldn't avoid Prince Ting, so he picked a day to drag Prince Ting out to pick a gift. Prince Ting didn't really understand it. Wang Xi usually took care of these things, and Prince Ting had never paid attention to what Ye Qinghuan liked. Why did Xiao Yu have to go buy it himself? Couldn't he just go pick something random from the storeroom? Your Highness, it's the thought that counts, Liu explained. You have to prepare a gift yourself to show your sincerity. Prince Ting was extremely unhappy with Xiao Yu bustling about busily for other people's sake, but he was happy about going out with Xiao Yu. The whole time, he stuck by Xiao Yu's side, never straying far. Xiao Yu liked shiny gold things, so he also gave gifts along this theme. Considering Ye Shurzi and the princess's status, after all, there was no need to buy them anything practical. With his boyfriend there to support him, Liu took a look at many high-end antique stores, wanting to give the couple something sophisticated and classy. But Liu had no eye for antiques. At first, a violet gold incense pot caught his interest. Because Prince Ting had said they should try to hide who they were, the two of them were on their own without any guards. Prince Ting was new to shopping, and it showed, so the owner exaggerated wildly in praise of his store, thinking it would be easy to make some money off these rich young men. Liu fell in love with the glittering gold incense pot engraved with complicated patterns. He was ready to pull out the money when Prince Ting couldn't take it anymore. He silently knocked a hole into the pot, revealing the actual color of the stone underneath. The gold was just a thin layer on the outside. Sob, sob, sob! So the pretty antique incense pot was a fake? That couldn't be blamed on him. As a fish, he had no experience, so he couldn't tell. But he supposed antiques were called antique for a reason. They should be dusty and old. If they were shining and glittering, there was definitely something suspicious going on, so they shouldn't buy it. Wang Gonggong and the guards, who were following from a distance, took the store owner who'd been selling fakes to be dealt with by the relevant authorities. Liu quickly learned his lesson. He decided to try again and went to another store. This time, an accessory box caught his eye. The owner said it used to belong to a princess from the previous dynasty. Liu thought the box had a vintage feel to it, and it did look very old, so it had to be the real thing. The former belongings of a princess would definitely suit a princess. Liu was just about to buy it when Prince Ting coughed lightly and glanced out the window. Liu followed his gaze and saw that the little peddler on the side of the road was selling a whole row of the exact same antique from the previous dynasty. Liu's confidence had taken a serious blow. He thought he just wasn't suited to buying antiques and decided to look at gold and silver decorations instead. He decided on a gold and jade folding screen, thinking there would be no problem this time. But the eagle-eyed Prince Ting spotted a very subtle crack on the back. As soon as he touched it, the whole thing split in two. Then Liu spotted a pair of green jade necklaces, one carved with a dragon and the other a phoenix. Prince Ting casually threw a cup of cold tea on it, and it turned out they were made with fake jade. The dark green on the jade was painted on, and with the cold tea, it all washed off. They looked through store after store. Anything that caught Li Yu's eye was either fake or damaged. Wang Xi also called owner after owner, but Li Yu remained giftless. Ugh, I'm supposed to be a koi. What kind of luck is this? Li Yu was very unhappy. He kept being fooled by a bunch of fakes. Didn't that mean he was as good as blind? Furious, he turned to leave with a huff. Prince Sting stopped him and tucked something into his hand. Li Yu wasn't mad at Prince Sting, but he felt really dumb, always picking out fakes, so he was a little embarrassed. For the sake of his boyfriend, he tried to calm down, looking down at the thing Prince Sting had put into his hand. He saw it was a little golden fish. It was the same style as the previous one, with the same cute charm. But this time, it was in a different pose. The one before had its tail curled, but this one had its lips pursed, like it was blowing bubbles. Li Yu furrowed his brows and glanced at Prince Sting, who was looking back at him. Li Yu knew he was trying to make him feel better and ended up bursting into laughter. Holding the fish in his hands, he no longer felt so angry. How many of these little golden fish did he have? Li Yu moved closer so Prince Sting could tie the fish to his waist for him. Prince Sting hung it on his waist with a smile, then grabbed Li Yu's hand and took him to the biggest jewelry store in the city. The owner often did business with the nobility, so he recognized Prince Sting. He hurried to greet them and exchanged some pleasantries. That was when Li Yu found out all the little golden fish were made here. He was so stupid. Why did he have to go look for a store on his own? Why didn't he ask Prince Sting for his opinion? Then he could have avoided being scammed so much on this wild goose chase. All because he never thought Prince Sting would come to a jewelry store. Prince Sting watched from the side as the owner brought out all the highest quality wares for Li Gongzi to choose from. Li Yu went all out and chose a pair of silver vases, a pair of gold rougi, and a pair of lifelike jade dolls. Prince Sting put down a few bills, and the owner quickly ordered some people to wrap up the goods to be delivered to the manor. He didn't get many chances to visit this store, so Li Yu decided to also buy an oval silver bead. The bead was the size of his thumb, and the design was like a modern globe, which was what caught Li Yu's eye. Prince Sting had given him so many gifts, but it seemed like he hadn't properly given Prince Sting anything back yet. Li Yu asked the owner for a red string. He strung the bead through the string and presented it to Prince Sting. "This is for you, Your Highness," Li Yu said, smiling. "Thank you for taking care of me." Prince Sting had paid for everything else. Li Yu should pay for this. He rushed out to pull a light gold money pouch that was stuffed full. Actually, Wang Xi had given him this before they left the manor, so it wasn't his money either, but it was coming from his hand, so that meant he bought it. A bead like this from this store had to be quite expensive, Li Yu thought. The owner wasn't sure what to say, too afraid to tell the truth, which was that it was just a little bead used for decorating. It wasn't worth much. In fact, he could just give it away for free. But faced with Prince Sting's icy stare and the young Gongzi's anticipation, after some careful consideration, the owner weakly gave a price. Li Yu paid for it happily. The bead was indeed a little expensive. Li Yu felt bad when he was taking the money out, but the price did reflect the quality, he supposed. When Prince Sting put the bead on right away, Li Yu couldn't be happier. He thought his taste wasn't quite bad to the point of being hopeless. At least, he sure had a good eye when it came to boyfriends. After buying the gifts and returning to the manor, Prince Sting ordered someone to rewrite the gift list to include the ones Li Yu just bought. Why do our gifts have to be together? Li Yu knew his gifts couldn't compare to Prince Sting's. Prince Sting wrote Li Yu's name next to his own, giving him a deep glance. Li Yu suddenly understood and went bright red. The space next to a prince was for his consort. Why did Prince Sting put their names and gifts together? Because Li Yu was his family, his consort. But they were just dating. Did he actually want to be his consort or not? Li Yu thought it over, but the rejection never left his lips. On the day of the wedding, Li Yu wore the coral red robes Prince Sting had made for him. They were made of brocade and embroidered with silver lotuses. With a jade hairpin and a string of little golden fish tinkling at his waist, he looked dashing and vibrant. Prince Sting wore a set of matching robes in black, edged with crimson. He had a red ribbon in his hair and looked ethereally handsome. Every time he snuck a glance at him, Li Yu felt delighted. They seemed to be wearing matching outfits. Wouldn't they steal the show from Yeshurtsu? Possibly. Prince Ting wrapped an arm around his waist to reassure him. Prince Ting didn't care what Ye Qinghuan thought. Once they were both ready, the carriage headed off. Li Yu sat in the carriage with Prince Ting, but as soon as he was in the carriage, he realized something was off. Last time, when they went to the market, the carriage was very small and cramped, but this time it was very spacious. It had more than enough room for the two of them. There was even a table, tea, and a few of his favorite pastries. Prince Ting smiled as he held Li Yu's hand, and they sat down together. Li Yu glared at Prince Ting. An asshole is an asshole, after all. On this trip to the Chang'an Manor, just in case Xiao Yu had to transform in the middle of the wedding, Prince Ting brought his pet fish again. The fish plush was floating quietly in the corner of a bottle, staring at the two of them. When the carriage started moving, Prince Ting handed Li Yu a book, but not one featuring Yao. He had noticed that Li Yu liked reading. The carriage he'd selected this time was very large, so Li Yu lay down comfortably with his head resting on Prince Ting's knee and flipped through the book as he chatted with the prince. Prince Ting picked up a piece of peach blossom pastry and broke it into pieces. He fed one to the fish in the crystal bottle, and the rest all went to the real carp spirit, who was waiting with his mouth wide open. Soon they arrived at Chang'an Manor. Today, Chang'an Manor was bustling with people and draped in color and lanterns. The king of Jinjue had come to attend the wedding, as well as friends and relatives of the Duke of Chang'an and plenty of court officials. Head eunuch Luo brought the emperor's edict along with large amounts of gifts. It took a while just to read the list of gifts. The king of Jinjue loved this daughter of his, and her wedding procession was over 5 kilometers long. Her dowry was at least 100 boxes. Prince Ting and Li Yu were welcomed by the groom, Ye Shurzi. Prince Ting nodded at the Duke of Chang'an, who was sitting on the main seat. The current Duke of Chang'an was Empress Xiaohui's brother, Prince Ting's uncle. On meeting, the two of them communicated a great deal with just a glance. Prince Ting's aunt, the Duchess of Chang'an, was also attending to the guests. When she saw Prince Ting had brought a young man with him as his partner, her eyes were full of smiles. Soon, a servant girl came and handed Li Yu a pair of jade butterflies. Smiling, she said, "My lady thanks you for coming to attend the celebration and also wishes the two of you happiness together forever." Wow. Li Yu accepted the butterflies, then saw the Duchess of Chang'an smiling at him from a distance. He was confused. Wasn't it Ye Qinghuan's wedding today? Why were they saying that to him and Prince Ting? Unless... Li Yu suddenly realized. Did Prince Ting bring him along today so he could meet his family? He covered his face. It was too sudden. He wasn't prepared at all. This was such a happy surprise. Chapter 70. Meeting the Family. Ye Qinghuan wore scarlet wedding robes, a smile bright on his face. The princess of Jinjue was draped in a veil embroidered with mandarin ducks playing in the water, and she was holding a jade vase and ruji. Although her face was hidden while the couple took their bows, there was just a glimpse of her bright red lips smiling. Li Yu watched as the young couple performed their wedding vows, feeling emotional. Partly thanks to his help, these two were able to break through the original plot of the novel and be together. He hoped they could be happy and at peace, safe and healthy. This was a good sign. The other pair from the book was now different too. He couldn't help but sneak a glance at Prince Ting, only to find that he was already looking at him. The two of them felt for each other's hands underneath their sleeves. Li Yu made a wish in his heart. The wedding proceeded smoothly, with the Duke of Chang'an hosting. Soon after, an old servant came to tell Prince Ting that there was an old acquaintance who wanted to see him. As soon as Prince Ting saw who the servant was, he knew who was summoning him. His hand tightened around Li Yu's. Did this mean Prince Ting wanted him to come along? As Li Yu followed, Prince Ting had one hand on his and one hand on the crystal bottle. Even though Li Yu knew it was ridiculous, he still felt a little jealous. Who did Prince Ting like better? him or the fish? If he had to compete against any other human, he wouldn't be worried at all. But against the fish... After all, Prince Ting had turned his entire manor into a huge tank for the fish. He'd done many things he'd never done before for the fish's sake, and as Li Gongzi, he was tasked with taking care of the fish. Even all the accessories he was given were a fish. When he thought of it like that, it was a little terrifying. Could it be that all those fish gifts weren't because his name meant fish, but because he came second to the fish? No. He had to know for sure. If Prince Ting dared like the fish more, he'd never let him hear the end of it. In an instant, it was like Li Yu had been overtaken by the god of jealousy. He'd completely forgotten that his new nemesis was in fact himself. Prince Ting had no idea what Xiao Yu was thinking about next to him. The two of them held hands as they walked into the back garden of Changle Manor. In the depths of the flower bushes, an elderly man with snowy white hair was warming a pot of wine on the little stove made of red clay. Prince Ting pursed his lips and walked forward with Li Yu. "You're here." When the elder saw the two of them, he wasn't at all surprised. He casually pointed to two chairs before him and said, smiling, "Come, sit." Prince Ting bowed respectfully and sat down with Li Yu. Li Yu was just pondering who this elderly man might be when he suddenly smelled the scent of green plum wine. He'd heard all the green plum wine in Changle Manor was made by the old Duke of Changle. Who else could this be? It was Ye Qinghuan's grandfather, Prince Ting's grandfather, and the old Duke of Changle. Suddenly excited, Li Yu got up to bow. Hello! In the book, this elderly man was the backbone of the House of Changle, but due to his health, he never officially appeared. After disaster had befallen Ye Qinghuan, he'd passed away from illness. Now that Ye Qinghuan and the princess were getting married, however, the old Duke of Changle was fine too. Li Yu never thought he'd get to see the man in person. He truly was Prince Ting's family. Ye Qian glanced at the youth, smiling, and then at Prince Ting. "What a nice young man." Ye Qian gestured for Li Yu to sit. He considered himself to be very good at reading people. It was easy to see what kind of personality a youth at this age had with just a glance. "You've decided, Your Highness?" Ye Qian asked Prince Ting. Prince Ting nodded, expression serious. Ye Qian didn't ask him to justify himself. "Then I've made my decision too," he said, still smiling. "I will do everything I can to help Your Highness." They looked at each other for a while. With both calmness and gratitude in his eyes, Prince Ting poured more wine for Ye Qian and some for himself. They both drank, as though they'd come to some sort of agreement. Li Yu didn't know what they were talking about, and this wasn't the kind of situation where he could just butt in, so instead he pushed his own bamboo cup in front of Prince Ting. Fish couldn't think about things that were too complicated, but he could at least taste the wine, right? Ye Qian and Prince Ting both paused. Ye Qian held back his laughter, ready to sit back and watch. Prince Ting glanced at Li Yu, then filled Li Yu's cup. But just when Li Yu had happily picked up the cup to have a sniff, Prince Ting stole the bamboo cup from his hand and drank all of it. "Your Highness, that's my wine," Li Yu objected quietly. The prince had poured it into the cup he'd claimed, so it was his. Prince Ting shook his head, smiling. He couldn't let the carp spirit get drunk outside. Just a whiff of the scent was enough. Li Yu mumbled in complaint. Meanwhile, Ye Qian drank leisurely, keeping out of it. A calm, silent youth with a lively and enthusiastic one. He was happy to see this couple together. He'd seen Ye Qinghuan with the princess of Jinjue as well. They were also good kids, just like these two. When he saw the pair of jade butterflies Li Yu was holding, Ye Qian smiled even wider and got out the jade pendants he'd been given when he got married. Meeting your boyfriend's family isn't that hard at all, Li Yu thought, clutching the jade pendant and butterflies. To be honest, he'd always been worried that Prince Ting's family would be against them. After all, he and Prince Ting were in a gay relationship. Weren't they worried about Prince Ting's future? He was friendly with Ye Qinghuan and the princess already, so they didn't count. But the old Duke of Changle and Duchess of Changle had all seemed to take a shine to him immediately, giving him gifts. When Prince Ting wasn't paying attention, the old Duke of Changun had even secretly told Li Yu that he'd give him a few jugs of good wine next time. Sob, what's with this huge sense of responsibility I'm feeling right now? After meeting the family and being treated well, he had to treat Prince Ting even better now. Seeing Xiao Yu's sudden serious expression, Prince Ting really wanted to pinch his cheeks. Naturally, no one in the house of Changun would disapprove of them. Prince Ting was long past the age to get married and have a child, but there still hadn't been a single person he was close to. Now that he finally had someone he liked, they were all delighted and wished everything could be made official for Prince Ting right away. But Prince Ting's marriage had to be approved by the emperor. Taking Xiao Yu to his family at Chang'an Manor was the most he could do for now. Ye Qinghuan's marriage made Prince Ting, who was never jealous, feel a little jealous. Prince Ting had no hesitations. Of course he would marry Xiao Yu. But he had to think about when to let the emperor know and when to ask the emperor for Xiao Yu, especially now that the old Duke of Chang'an was on his side. He was the noble D-son and constantly faced judgment and questioning throughout his life, sometimes even assassination attempts. He was used to this and did what he had to in order to survive, but after the house of Chang'an had almost come to harm, and then several of the princes had tried to do something to his fish, Prince Ting realized he couldn't protect the people around him by keeping to himself. He couldn't trust any of the other princes. If he wanted to protect the people he wanted, then he had to become the emperor. Due to the disability he was born with, he still had a long way to go, and the path might be filled with danger. Before he could finally achieve a safe, peaceful life, he'd have to do anything he could to avoid involving Xiao Yu, as he couldn't bear to think of risking him. So for now, he could only date Xiao Yu. He couldn't confirm Xiao Yu's status. But one day, he'd give Xiao Yu everything he deserved. Li Yu tucked the jade butterfly and pinned it away in his robes. "Your Highness, I want to walk around by myself for a bit, then I'll head back on my own," he said. Since they'd made their agreement, Li Yu was putting much less effort into his excuses. It didn't matter. Prince Ting wasn't ever going to ask. Prince Ting watched as he walked to the edge of the garden and behind some trees. Li Yu quickly transformed back into a fish, then slid back over on his tail. The crystal bottle was just behind Prince Ting. With Prince Ting blocking his line of sight, the old Duke of Chang'an wouldn't see anything. Li Yu jumped quietly into the crystal bottle. Although Prince Ting wasn't looking directly at the fish, he knew Li Yu had made his way back safely when he heard the quiet splash behind him. Ye Qian was in high spirits and ordered someone to bring over a weiqi board. "Last time I played with your Highness, you hadn't moved out of Jingtai Hall yet," he said, smiling. "I was ordered to go see you by the Emperor. So many years have passed in the blink of an eye." Prince Ting nodded, gesturing for his grandfather to play white, and that he would play black. Li Yu swam to the mouth of the bottle, carefully leaning against the side. Perhaps the two of them had spoken so mysteriously before because he was there, but even now that he was gone, the two focused on the game instead, and Li Yu learned even less. Li Yu only knew how to use Go sets for games that weren't Go, so he didn't understand what was going on at all. Very quickly, he became sleepy. Prince Ting kept an eye on his fish. As soon as he saw the fish drifting off, about to tip over back into the bottle, Prince Ting quickly found a way out of the difficult match. Soon, the winner and loser were clear. Ye Qian rubbed his chin. "Your Highness, your aura is very different from before. Is it because of him?" Prince Ting just smiled casually in response. Protecting oneself was different from protecting someone else. Ye Qian rarely got to see Prince Ting and wanted to continue their conversation, but a servant suddenly came to announce that the Emperor was here. Ye Qian immediately went to greet him with Prince Ting. The Emperor was wearing a set of casual robes, and he was only accompanied by the head of the Imperial Guard as he came to Chang'an Manor in person. Originally, there had been no need for the Emperor to show up to Ye Shizi and the Princess of Jinjue's wedding. He just had to make sure his gifts arrived. But due to the mess the Secret Prince had created, the Emperor had to reassure and comfort the King of Jinjue, so he came to visit personally to show how much he cared about this marriage. The Duke and Duchess of Chang'an and all the officials kneeled down, greeting the Emperor. The Emperor waved an arm cheerfully. Continue with the wedding. I'm just here for a cup of wine. Joyfully beaming, he sat down to speak with the king of Jinjue for a while. Gradually, the guests started to relax. Ye Qian and Prince Ting walked into the main hall, one after the other, and bowed to the emperor. Ye Qian's health had been declining these past few years, so he rarely entered the palace. Seeing Ye Qian as well as Prince Ting beside the new young couple at their wedding, the emperor couldn't help thinking about his past with Empress Xiaohui. Since Ye Qian had already agreed to help Prince Ting, he needed to fully utilize the advantages Prince Ting had. The Empress's rooms are still maintained here at the manor, he said. Does your majesty want to have a look? The emperor rarely came to Chang'an Manor since Empress Xiaohui had passed away, mostly because he was afraid it would hurt too much. But at that moment, he couldn't help but nod. And as Prince Ting was Empress Xiaohui's only son still left in the world, the emperor asked him to come along. Prince Ting still carried the bottle with him. When he took a glance, the emperor was briefly speechless. It's only been a short while, and your fish has changed this much? The emperor recalled the letter Prince Ting had sent, specifically reporting the changes in the fish. But reading it in a letter was completely different from seeing it. The last time the emperor saw the fish, it was still black with flecks of gold. Now the entire fish was a different color. No wonder the emperor took a while to react. It looks like Liao Kong was right, he said. It really is part koi. The emperor walked closer, looking at the fish in the bottle. Afraid the emperor would find something amiss, Li Yu was too afraid to even blow a bubble. He put on an elegant mien, trying to pretend to be an emotionless koi. Good thing the fish wasn't the main character today. Soon, the emperor followed the old Duke of Chang'an to Empress Xiaohui's old rooms. The rooms Ye Qian spoke of had belonged to Empress Xiaohui before she got married. The emperor led Prince Ting inside. Seeing all the decor that was so similar to Changchun palaces, the emperor's vision started to go blurry. He sat down and began to tell Prince Ting a few stories about Empress Xiaohui. Li Yu was in the crystal bottle, so he had a lower angle than everyone else. While the emperor saw many familiar decorations, Li Yu saw a portrait of a servant girl on the wall. Because this was Empress Xiaohui's room, Li Yu guessed she must have painted it herself. Prince Ting was good at painting too. Did he inherit this skill from his mother? It wasn't impossible. Li Yu looked at the painting for a while before his gaze landed on an unobtrusive wardrobe beneath where it hung. At the corner of the wardrobe, an old plush was sticking out. Li Yu thought it looked a bit familiar. After he'd staring at the black and yellow plush for a while, Li Yu realized with a start. Wasn't this the cloth tiger he'd seen in the secret the system had shown him? Although there was no way to confirm if it was the exact same one, it was very similar, and the tiger in the memory had only been half sewn, but this one was clearly already completed. Did the secret have something to do with Empress Xiaohui? But Li Yu was very sure the room in the secret wasn't this one, but one in the palace. Could it be Empress Xiaohui's Changchun Palace? Li Yu had never been, so he had no way of knowing. All he could do was stare at the tiger in frustration. Suddenly, he had an idea. The fish tapped at the glass in the direction of the tiger. Prince Ting noticed Li Yu's urgency at once, and he walked over and found the tiger cloth in the wardrobe. He thought about it, then took it out. The emperor smiled. Ah, your mother loved things like this. She made some for you back then, too. There are many in Changchun Palace. Do you still remember? Prince Ting nodded slightly. The emperor's words were like fireworks, instantly exploding inside Li Yu's head. The secret was Prince Ting's secret. Even Prince Ting remembered the tiger plush. It really must be at Changchun Palace. What kind of secret was this? All right, you guys, so the gustoed just a little bit, but not too much. We were able to make it through chapter 68 through 70, and I don't really have anything to say. The only thing that I can say is as soon as Ye Qian asked Prince Ting, have you made your decision? And then was like, I'll support you. It's like I instantly knew they were talking about him ascending the throne. And based on what was said in the last chapter, I'm guessing, whatever it is that Ye Qian needs to do or whatever to help him ascend, he's going to do it. And you know what? I'm here for it. I understand that Prince Ting believes that the only way he'll fully be able to protect Li Yu is if he is the emperor. And you know what? It's his rightful place anyway. He is the D son. And even though he has the disability of mutism, I just think he could still make a great emperor. I mean, at least I think. We haven't learned that much about like his beliefs and policies and all those things like that, but he's a very meticulous person. He notices things very well, and he has Liu by his side who, knows some of the plot, even though not all of it, and even though some of it is changing. But it's like, I think the biggest thing for Prince Sing ascending the throne would be garnering the respect of others because of his mutism. Otherwise, I think he could easily snatch that up, though, and get people to respect him or fear him or both. But anyways, that was that, and we'll see what I can give to you guys tomorrow. Anyway, I hope you all have a lovely day or had a lovely day. Please let me know your thoughts in the comment section, and I will see you all next time. Well, Einiman.